Hey guys, this is Circles Day 9, and this is kind of a weird day. We kind of had a little bit of a review day today, nothing new. We were finding the area of composite shapes, but I thought I would just go ahead and do a quick little video on today's lesson, which is actually also workbook exercise 9 in your workbook. But we worked on these individually and in groups today, and so I thought I'd go over this because it's a little bit similar to what you have in workbook exercise 6. So the first couple questions at the top of your notes were just some review questions. It said the formula for circumference of a circle is, and let's go ahead and write that down, fill that in there, C equals pi times d, or circumference equals 2 pi r. And then it asked you what the formula for area of a circle is. So area equals pi times r, or pi r squared. Okay, let's get into some problems here. So the first one you have is a shape composed of a square and a semicircle. And we need to find the area of the semicircle first, then of the square, and then of the entire figure. So the reason your notes are leading you through that process is because when you find the area of the entire thing, it's just a process of finding both parts and then adding them. So it's as easy as that. So let's go ahead and find the area of the semicircle first. So the area of the semicircle, remember, since we're finding half of a circle, is going to be half times pi times r, okay? And then let's go ahead and fill in some values here. Now, we can see that this edge of the square is 14 centimeters, which also happens to be the diameter of the semicircle, so we need to be careful to make sure that we mark down the correct radius. So the area of the semicircle is going to be 1/2 times 22 over 7, tells me up here to use 22 over 7, times 7, times 7, and then right away we can see that we can cross cancel here and here, and we can cross cancel here and here, and we're left with the area of the semicircle equals 1 times 11, which is 11, times 1, which is still 11, times 1, which is 77. So we have 77 centimeters squared. Okay, then we need to find the area of the square. And that one's nice and easy. It's just length times width, which is 14 times 14. And we'll do that math over here. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 4 times 4 is 4. 4 times 1 is 1. And we get 196 centimeters squared. Oops, I forgot to move it up. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, there you can see the work that I was just talking through. You're probably yelling at your screen, I can't see it, Mrs. Jurgens. All right, so there we found the area of the square. It's 196 centimeters squared. So let's go back up to our picture here and let's just fill these in. So our square is 196 centimeters squared, and our semicircle is 77 centimeters squared. Okay. So I'm going to just do this work up here, even though you might do it down on your sheet, just so that we can see our values over here. So the area total of my figure is going to be 196 plus 77. Okay, and let's do that over here. 196 plus 77, 13. And then we've got 17 right here. We're going to end up with the total area of 273 centimeters squared. All right, so make sure you have all those notes. Okay, let's take a look at this next composite shape that you have on the next page. This time you have a figure made up of a rectangle and 2 semicircles, and we're going to use 3.14 for pi. So the first question asks me to find the area of the 2 semicircles. Now I know that you know that when we find the area of a semicircle, we need to multiply 1/2 times the area formula. But since we're finding 2, we're just going to find the area of the circle, and we're going to call it good, because if I were to pluck this one up and put it underneath that one, I would end up with an entire circle, wouldn't I? Let's just, before we even do that though, write the radius, because we've got a diameter marked there, but the diameter is 10, and that's going to mess us up if we plug that into our equation. I'm going to erase my circle here. So let's go ahead and write the radius down. All right, so my radius of these two semicircles is going to be 5 centimeters. Okay, now we're ready to rock and roll. So let's write our area formula. Area equals pi times r times r. So area equals 3.14 times 5 times 5, or 3.14 times 25. And we'll do that math over here. 3.14 times 25. 5 times 4 is 20. And we've got 15. And then let's add it all together. And we get 78.50. So area of my two semicircles equals 78.5 centimeters squared. Okay, then it's asking me to find the area of the rectangle. And the area of a rectangle is going to equal length times width. I know everybody remembers that. And let's just check our length and width really quick. Okay, so we've got a length of 12 and a width of 10. So we want to make, that's what we're going to plug in down here. Some people thought that that was a square today, but it's not. It's a rectangle. So we need to multiply 10 times 12, and we get an area of 120 centimeters squared. All right, down here, we're going to find the area of the entire figure. And so again, we're just going to add. So our total area equals the area of the semicircle, which was 78.5, plus the area of the rectangle, which was 120. And let's, if we add those up, let's do that over here. 120 plus 78.5. We're going to get 198.5 centimeters squared. Okay, take a second, make sure that you have all of those notes. Pause the video or back up if you need to. But there's everything that I wrote. Hopefully you can see that all on your screen. All right, continuing on, we have a shape made up of a square and two semicircles, and it says up here to find the area of the square first, and the area of the two semicircles, and then the shaded area. Okay, so let's just take that in order. Let's find the area of the square first. Okay, so our area is, of course, length times width. And by the way, this one is, you know, kind of building on what we just did. So or what we've been doing, I guess, except just gonna be a different math operation at the end. So you should try to do this on your own and then come back and see if you're right. But when we look at the area of the square, length times width, I notice that I've got two diameters that are both 2 centimeters. So if I add those together, I'm going to get 4 centimeters. And so the length and the width both will be 4. So I have an area of 16 centimeters squared for my square. Okay, now I'm going to find the area of the two semicircles. And again, I have 2 of them, and so all I need to do is find the area of one circle. But before I do that, I want to make sure I have the right radius marked, because this 2 is my diameter. It goes all the way across. So let's mark a radius of 1 centimeter. Okay, and then let's plug that into our formula. So area equals pi times r times r. Area equals, and it told me up at the top to use 3.14, so I'll go ahead and do that, times 1 times 1. So my area of the two semicircles is just going to equal 3.14 centimeters squared. Okay, now, I think when I started this problem, I might have said we're going to add them up at the end, but that was just a flub, because we are not going to add, because if we look at our picture, we can see that the semicircles are taking away from the area of the shaded portion. So I need to subtract down here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the area of the semicircles away from my area of the square. So I'm going to have 16 minus 3.14. And let's do that work over here. Now when I add or subtract decimals, I need to line up my decimals and then add digits to whatever either addend or subtrahend or minuend or whatever doesn't have enough digits to match the other one, okay? So let's go ahead and subtract. And I'm going to get a total area of 12.86 centimeters squared. There are all the notes for you, so you can make sure you have them. Now this next problem is almost just like the last one, and so I went ahead and just wrote it here. So you should stop the video, do the work, and make sure that you got the right answers. Ooh, I'm going to hide them from you for a second. Okay, there's my desk. So stop the video, then come back and check your work. All right. You should have ended up with an area of 386 centimeters squared. And we got that by subtracting the area of the two semicircles from the area of the rectangle. Okay, so now we have another funky shape, and we have an area of looks like an ice cream cone to me. Yum. So just trying to get my computer a little focused a little bit better here. I apologize, it looks a little bit fuzzy on my end. Hopefully it'll focus itself. But so this time we're going to add the area of a triangle to the area of a semicircle. So let's do the semicircle first. Actually, let's go back up here and make sure we have the radius written down. The diameter is 8 centimeters, so that means the radius is 4. So let's find the area of our semicircle. Okay, so I've got 1/2 area equals 1/2 pi times r, which equals 1/2 times 3.14 times 4 times 4. I'm going to cross cancel once here and cross cancel that with that 4, and I'm going to end up with 1/2 area equals 3.14 times 8, and let's do that work over here. 3.14 times 8 I've got 2 decimal places up there, so I need 2 in my product, and my area of that semicircle is going to equal 25.12. Let's see, we're in centimeters squared. Okay, now I want to find the area of the triangle. All right, the area of a triangle is always 1/2 times base times height. Okay, so up here with my triangle, I've got a base. Let's take a look at it. I've got a base of 8 and a height of 10. Your base and height always need to be at right angles to each other. Somebody asked me today, well, why can't I just take the area of the square and just do length times width, right? Because I've got 2 triangles. Well, look what would happen if you actually did flip this triangle over here and put it right here. Then all of a sudden, my base is half of what it was before, and so my length times width would just equal half of that base times the height. Okay, so that's why it's always going to be 1/2 base times height. So my area is going to equal 1/2 times 8 times 10, which is going to equal 40 centimeters squared. Okay, and then my area of the figure, of course, I'm just going to add them. So my total area will be 25.12 centimeters squared plus 40 centimeters squared. And my total area is 65.12 centimeters squared.